Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, "The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure buried in a field, which a person finds and hides again, and out of joy goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant searching for fine pearls. When he finds a pearl of great price, he goes and sells all that he has and buys it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net thrown into the sea, which collects fish of every kind. When it is full, they haul it ashore and sit down to put what is good into buckets. What is bad, they throw away. Thus it will be at the end of the age. The angels will go out and separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth." "Do you understand all these things?" They answered, "Yes." And he replied, "Then every scribe who has been instructed in the kingdom of heaven is like the head of a household, who brings from his storeroom both the new and the old." The Gospel of the Lord. "The angels will go out and separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth." You know, at a parish meeting this week, many of you know that we begin all of our parish meetings with a proclamation of the gospel and a short meditation and reflection and a little bit of conversation. And at one meeting this week, the one who is proclaiming the gospel stopped in the middle of it and questioned, "Is this the right gospel?" And I was thinking afterwards, it's got to be about this line. There will be wailing and grinding of teeth. Again, we're hearing this 2 weeks in a row. That's crazy. Did Jesus really say it that often? Well, he says it at least 3 or 4 times in Matthew's gospel, and it just so happens that 2 of them are within this section of parables that we've been hearing from. He does use it periodically, and he does it to call our consciences to something more. Why does he have to say they will be thrown into the fire? You know, there's something about that. It's abrasive, you know. Doesn't it get at your heart a little bit? I hope it gets at your heart a little bit. You know, it's pretty harsh. I mean, the fact of the matter remains that hell is a real thing, and the threat of spending eternity there ought to rouse our consciences. But there's also a difference between having our consciences aroused and cringing or recoiling at hearing this passage. And I spent some time reflecting on this, and I was just thinking about how I think some people are kicked around enough in this life and sometimes rejected and kicked on, and sometimes they feel that they've been beaten up even by those people that have been calling them to something higher, something better, to be better. Sometimes there's a feeling that I've already been judged and thrown into the fire in my life itself. So then I hear Jesus say these words, "The angel will throw them into the fiery furnace," and I think, gosh, Jesus, you too. I'm projecting now. This isn't something I go through, I promise. I do that a lot when I'm preaching. So, you know, a lot of people will actually just ignore these words or take them as a personal attack from Jesus himself. For others of us who have found the treasure buried in the field or the pearl of great price in Jesus himself, you know, sometimes we worry that maybe I haven't actually sold everything I have. Maybe I haven't done what Jesus said to do and actually gone out and purchased the treasure, the field, so that I can have the treasure in Jesus Christ. Maybe I'm not giving him my whole heart. You know, and so the threat of being thrown into the fiery furnace grabs at our heart in that way as well. But no matter what causes the conflict in our hearts when we hear this particular sentence, when we hear of wailing and grinding of teeth, we need to get closer to Jesus more personal in relationship to him, to be able to stand in truth before a statement such as this. The fact remains that God buried himself as treasure in this world so that we might find him. Jesus himself was planted in God's plan for our lives. He is the meaning that we strive and search for. Many of you might remember that cheesy line, what was it from, like Jerry Maguire or something? I don't know, I never actually saw the movie, but you complete me. What's that from?
That's right.
Is that Jerry Maguire? You complete me. Well, Jesus is the only one we can actually say that about, truthfully, you know? Jesus completes us. He gives us the meaning that we're searching for. Jesus says that the man who finds the treasure in the field, he's almost giddy with joy at what he's found, and he sells everything. It almost looks like a neglect of his responsibilities, you know? Goes and sells all that he has and buys a field. Like, are you crazy selling everything you have and buying a field? He's left it all behind because he knows how good that treasure is. But what's so good about it? You know, throughout these lists of parables that we've heard these past few weeks, Jesus reveals himself as the seed in the field of our hearts, the yeast that makes us grow, the treasure and the pearl which can actually satisfy us. And he's also the fisherman who chooses what to keep and what to throw away. You know, these are impersonal ways of describing something that's very personal. Jesus uses these parables to lead us to conclusions in our own hearts that he must be the active center of our lives. He must be the source of life within us. He must be the Lord of our hearts. He must be our Father in heaven, our lover and judge of our souls. Yes, even judge. Because as he loves us, he can't tolerate any aspect of sin or selfishness in us. It must be burned away. You remember something from the past few weeks. Jesus was referencing that passage from the prophet Isaiah. Gross is the heart of this people. They will hardly hear with their ears. They have closed their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their hearts and be converted, and I heal them. We talked about this last week, and there's something there that's back for us again, that Jesus speaks in parables because there's something more to be heard. And what's more to be heard happens in our hearts. Those who close their ears at the words of Jesus and don't want to accept him into their hearts, all they hear is this impersonal story. But Jesus intends us to come to this conclusion that he wants to be near us. He wants to be all of those things in us. The source of life, the center of our lives, the Lord of our hearts, Father, lover, judge of our souls. He wants to be those personal things. Some might say that these descriptions are too human, in fact. That God is beyond these words. And the question for us, I think, becomes, is it that they're too human, or are they too close for comfort? That we don't want God to be that close to us. Because if I can keep God at an arm's distance as something that I can't really understand, something that's impersonal, something that's out there, then I can make him out to be who I want him to be. But at the same time, keeping God as some distant and abstract concept removes any semblance of love in him. Only a person can love, not some idea. You know, I hear from time to time at least the sentiments of the question, have I done enough to get to heaven? Have I done enough? Oftentimes when I preach a funeral of someone who has lived a particularly decent life, I reference the fact that Our funeral readings that we choose are often, fairly comforting readings. They highlight God's promise of the gift of salvation, which He has made to us. He promises us that there's a good life for all time, a place of love and care that we can spend eternity in. And it's right that as we come to a funeral where we're confronted with that time of judgment, if you will, of someone's life, a time where, on the shore, the good things are thrown into buckets and the bad things are thrown away. As we're confronted with that at a funeral, it's right to highlight the promise of God for salvation. But God's promise to us also demands a response. God promises a life of eternal bliss with Him, but it demands a response in us that we can't possibly attain, the right level. We can't possibly do enough to respond to that gift of salvation. It's just not possible without God's grace. Salvation truly is a gift. And what's more important than have I done enough is that are we on that search for truth? Are we in the pursuit of the treasure that maybe at some point in our lives we've gone through and we've kicked the corner of it and we've looked down and we've said, what's that? And we've kept on moving. We know there's something there in Jesus Christ. We know there's something there that's worth more than anything else we have in our lives. Are we selling all that we have to get there? To put our faith and stock in Jesus Christ? I met a woman recently. I was visiting somebody in the hospital. It's her daughter, who I'd never met before, who's she's of a different faith tradition. And I was speaking with her, and she brought up a time where she was denied communion in the Catholic Church. Rightfully so, she's not Catholic. But, we got into talking about it and led down this road of conversation, what she believes to be true and, what can't be. And it was a really fascinating conversation for me, which I think in some ways highlights what I'm trying to get at, an actual pursuit of truth. What this woman believed wasn't all true. But deep down in her heart was a desire to want nothing but what is true. She wants to know God for who He is, not for who she makes Him up to be. She knows that there's a treasure in Him, and she's seeking to leave all of the rest of her life behind, to put all of her faith in Him. And she'll get there. She'll get to the truth of who Jesus is. She moves from one belief to the next. There's an honesty in her heart that she's able to leave behind those things that aren't true and hold fast to what is. There's a yearning, there's a movement, there's an action to pursue what is ultimately good. It's just something good about this, It really is. There's a lot for Jesus to ask of us to be who we were made to be. But as He stands before us today and reveals something of the truth of His heart, that He wants to be close to us, that He wants us to know His love, that He wants us to know Him as Father, source of life, center of our lives, and merciful Judge, we ask for the grace to be able to sell all that we have, all those things that hold us back and distract us, prevent us from going back to the treasure, seeing what it really is. Selling the rest of our lives for the treasure and the pearl of great price. Jesus, be with us. Give us the courage